Welcome back to another episode of Titans of Food Service. I'm your host, Nick Portillo, and today I continue my Across America in 50 Weeks tour where I interview one Titan of Food Service from every single state in the country. And on this week's episode, we're going to be highlighting the beautiful state of Delaware. But before I jump in and introduce our guest, I want to remind everyone, please, if you're liking the channel, if you're enjoying it, if you could leave me a 5-star review, whether you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, that would mean a lot. It helps more listeners discover these incredible stories from across the food service industry, and it would just mean a lot to me. So thank you. Without further ado, I'm excited to introduce today's guest. Today's guest, he's a true master of the culinary and pastry arts, none other than Chef Dana Herbert. He's also known as Delaware's King of Cakes and the Sugar Daddy. Dana, the owner of Desserts by Dana in Bear, Delaware, has made waves not just in his home state, but nationally as well, with his incredible wedding cakes, sugar sculptures, and custom desserts, plus many, many more. Many of you may actually know Dana from his time on Cake Boss, the next great baker on TLC. On that show, he took home the top prize in the finale. He wowed everyone with his design skills and his impeccable taste. And since that show, he has appeared on numerous national media outlets, and we're going to talk about that in the episode as well. But things from ABC's deals with Kat Cosley to being on Fox, NBC, and he was even the graced the cover of Dessert Professional magazine. Truly remarkable. But his skills go beyond sweets. He's a trained chef in both culinary and pastry, making him a double threat in any kitchen. His ability to blend sweet and savory flavors even earned him a spot on the James Beard Celebrity Chef Tour, where his dessert was named one of the top 10 all-time desserts on the tour. Whoa. Highlighting a little bit about Delaware, his home state, Delaware's food service industry, while it's small in size, it punches above its weight. The state is home to a thriving food culture that supports more than 50,000 employees and generates nearly $3 billion in annual sales. From its rich agricultural roots to the influence of nearby metro areas like Philly and Washington, D.C., Delaware has a diverse and growing food scene, whether it's the abundance of fresh local seafood like blue crabs and oysters or the growing farm to table movement. Delaware restaurants and chefs, just like Dana, bring creativity and passion to every dish. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Dana. And remember, if you're enjoying the show, if you can leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, that would mean a lot. Let's go ahead and welcome Dana. Chef Dana, welcome to the Titans of Food Service podcast. I appreciate you taking time to come and talk with me.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into the baking business or the food business?
Oh goodness, I totally blame it on grandma. I'm a guy that likes to eat, and she was a woman that loved to cook. So I really just developed this love for food. You know, for me, it was the one place you would find everyone at the end of the day was around that dinner table. So food and love just kind of came together for me, and I just fell in love with food.
Yeah. You know, it's my wife, she's actually she loves to bake as well, and like when she was going through high school and whatnot, she really got into baking cakes. She did things for like weddings and
Uh-oh,
different
that cookie
events. Like
just
her and her
froze.
mom really got into it. Now they do a one day a year annual baking day, which she loves. But you've taken it to a whole nother level. You've been on television. You're well known in in the space. Um, so tell me. So you learned with your grandma at a young age how to bake.
Hmm.
Did you go to after that? Did you go to school? I saw you went to Johnson and Wales. Was that to pursue a degree in baking?
Yes, after I graduated from the University of Delaware in hotel restaurant management, I went on to Johnson and Wales University. I did a degree on the savory side, on the culinary side, and then I stayed and did another degree on the pastry side.
Gotcha. Is Johnson and Wales, is that by you? Is that near Delaware?
That's actually in Providence, Rhode Island. There is another campus in, where is it? Charlotte, North Carolina, and I believe another in Vail, Colorado.
Gotcha. Okay. At the time where when you came out of school, were you working in hospitality or did you start your own? Where did you go from there after school?
So after school, I did both. I went to work for Marriott. And
Yep,
it's funny, I took a job on the savory side. I started Desserts by Dana as like this little side business
sure.
because I didn't want to lose my pastry skills since I was on the savory side. So I was kind of doing both at the same time. And the bakery business just started growing.
So Desserts by Dana, I was reading a little bit about that. Tell me more about Desserts by Dana.
So Desserts by Dana, I call it a retail and wholesale bakery. Of course, we service our clients that walk in every single day. Cookies and brownies, tarts, cheesecakes, all types of desserts. You know, the cake pops, macarons, etc. But then we also service hotels, universities, country clubs, and so forth. So
Okay.
that's where we get our wholesale side of the business.
Nice. And how did you end up on TLC's Cake Boss?
Oh goodness, I think on that show, I did a couple before that, and I had a little hiatus, and I was like, why not? Let me just throw my hat in the ring, and lo and behold, I got picked. Yeah.
What shows did you do before that?
Before that one, I did Ultimate Cake Off with TLC,
Okay.
and I did Wedding Cake Wars with WeTV. We've been blessed since then. I think total shows, we might be around 15, 16 different shows in the last 10 years. So we've had a good run.
I would imagine, you've been on all these shows. You said 15, 16 shows?
Hmm.
Is there a direct like correlation or benefit when you go on that show and then people wanting to buy your desserts?
I believe so.
Yeah.
My feeling is that, as a small business, especially in the beginning, it would be difficult to afford that type of exposure on national television.
Yeah.
So I always say it's always great when you can get some extra fire behind your
Yeah.
name, and I think it really helps with the marketing and so forth
I
of
bet.
your business. Win or lose, as long as you have a decent showing, I think it'll help you draw additional clients.
I think I saw that you won. What was it? One of the shows, the TLC Cake Boss. Well, you were season one winner.
Correct. Yes. Hmm.
How did that work? How many contestants were there?
Let me see. I think there were. I can almost remember it like yesterday. I think there were. Was it 10 of us? One. Who was at the end of the table? Pammy. Then. Yeah. I think there were. No, 12 of us. There were
Wow.
12 of us. Uh huh.
And what were some of the different events that you had to, or not events, but like cakes and things that you had to bake?
Sure. Let's see. What was the first episode? We had to do a celebration of some sort. So my wife was prego, and I did a baby shower cake. Lo and behold, I
Okay.
got the sex wrong because we ended up having a girl. But um, the first one was a celebration. The second one, I think we did the 75th anniversary of Monopoly. Third one, I think, was a holiday cake. Fourth one was pyrotechnic related, so it had rockets and all kinds of stuff coming out of it. We did a cake for Buddy's son at the time, his
Okay.
birthday. What else did we do? Of course, we had to get into wedding cakes. Can't have a cake competition without wedding cakes.
Of course.
And then we did some cakes for Chevrolet. And I think the final one was a Hoboken themed cake for the
Hmm.
finale.
Okay.
So he kept us busy.
I bet. Now, give me a peek behind the curtain. So you're making all these different cakes.
Hmm.
Are you filming every episode essentially at one time? Do you have to bake all these cakes within the same day?
No, we filmed probably what was it? And this was fast to do a whole season. I think we did it in 21 days.
And was it in Delaware, or did you have to go to New York or LA? Like, was it somewhere else?
Just outside of New York. We were in Hoboken.
You were in Hoboken. Okay,
Hmm.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the culinary schools there was gracious enough to let us take over a wing of their school, and that's where TLC filmed that show.
My wife and I, we always like watching like the themed shows, like whether it's like Halloween or the Christmas ones. You know, the different baking championships. The one hosted by Jesse Palmer.
Uh huh.
The
Yes.
and I'm always, in watching that show, they always have like different ingredients that you have to put in. How do you know, like when you're presented with something, maybe it's like random different ingredients, or to put together like a design, like the cake you have right behind you, or a couple of them. Like if you were to just like does your mind just like think of those ideas just like off the top? The reason I ask, I am like not a creative person in the slightest. I got to give myself credit, maybe a little bit, but to be able to
Yeah.
think like that, that's just not how my brain works.
I mean, I'll be honest. Sometimes the client's giving you exact orders. Um, Sometimes I just let the big guy give it to me. I'm not gonna lie. Spiritually, I'm like, Lord, what are we
Yep.
doing today? I do that a lot with my magazine photo shoots. When it's
Okay.
like, hey Dana, I need a cake. They show me a mood board and they don't give me anything else, and they expect me to arrive with something that's photo worthy.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah. In competition, I think you get used to being thrown to the wolves a little bit.
Hmm.
So when you get these surprise ingredients, I think you really just have to fall back on your training and on the knowledge that you do have. When I was in school, I had this one teacher, and she said, if you can smell anything sweet in something, it can be used for a dessert. So from there, to me, it kind of just took all the fear away. I just had to figure out how to use different ingredients, whether it be, rosemary or whether it be sage or something like that, to be able to incorporate it into a dessert.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What about like I'm looking at the cake right behind you, the white one
Okay.
with the flowers. Like, how
Yeah.
do you create like it's like I can tell there's so much detail and design that goes into that. Do you make that
Mhm.
by hand?
We do. Yeah. I guess, how should I say it? No two flowers are the same. Um, so that takes a little bit of pressure off there. I think the reality is you have to make it look delicate like a flower, so it can't be too bulky, too dense. From a petal perspective, they have to be
Sure.
somewhat thin, and then it just sort of comes to life.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. I just love, in watching these shows, like just the things that someone's mind and what someone can create. There's some really out of the box ideas that people, and I know that there's pressure, there's time involved, right? You only have so much time to put it together. You're competing at the same time.
There is always too little time. I think sometimes on purpose, like that cake should take 8 hours. They're going to give you about 5, 6. Because I think part
Uh,
of it is how can you adjust and still achieve something amazing.
yeah. When you for all these shows, like how did you get onto all these 15, 16 different shows?
In the beginning, it was a lot of applying.
Okay.
You might see like casting calls. Say like with the Cake Boss one, I saw something on Facebook, and I just clicked it. I was like, oh, cool, they're doing a competition. I thought it was a one day, but it was a season. That's a whole nother story. But that's how I guess you could say you start to find out about some of these shows. And then after that, I'll be honest, a lot of times I just get phone calls. Say, hey, I saw your work. Are you interested? Yes. Because I've been blessed to work, with some of the different networks. A lot of times they'll just tell me, yeah, we got your info. You don't need to send that intro packet in or anything like that. We know who you are.
I was going to ask, yeah. So you have to submit an intro packet for some of these because they have to verify that you can actually bake.
Yes. Yep. They they definitely have to verify that you can bake, that you can decorate. So a lot of times they really want to see like pictures of your work, things that you can do. So it kind of gives the producer an idea of what you're capable of. So as they're creating challenges, it it would be pointless to have someone on a show that couldn't do what the producer wanted to, film. So they're looking for people that are capable of doing different artistic work.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you probably have to have a certain skill set or a certain level of skill in what they're looking for in order to be competitive within the show and make it interesting.
Exactly, and on a show like that one with the Cake Boss, it was everybody had their own like kind of skill set, had their own lane. So it's like when you put us all in the same space, it was just like, oh wow, that technique's really cool, or oh wow, that is awesome. And then you're learning at the same time while you're competing, which was pretty cool.
To elaborate more on that, so there's not, when it comes to baking, there's not any one specific type of baker. There's different, you may all be baking cakes, but each person has their own twist or their own spin on how they do it.
To a degree.
Okay.
Baking is definitely a science. So there are like core recipes that I think that every baker kind of has under their belt, but then you start tweaking and twisting it and adding different spices. And someone might add a pinch more baking powder than somebody else to get a little bit more leavening. So there's a core, but then we start playing around. Like, for example, I think on that show, and it was the only time that I think Buddy had said he didn't like my cake. And I was like, what the heck? So, to give you an example of that, the one day that we had off in those 21 days, I just baked. Like, it sounds crazy, but I just baked my behind off for 8 hours, and I took this one recipe and I just tweaked it. And I said, okay, well, let me add a little bit of pudding to it. Okay, let's see how that comes out. Let me add a little sour cream. Okay, let me add a little more oil. And I mean, I just played with this thing all day. It sounds ludicrous, but it worked.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you're mastering your craft, right?
Correct.
It's like, I know we talked off camera about the Yankees and the Mets.
Hmm.
Those baseball players, they play on the games, but they have to practice in between the games as well. You're
Yep.
always, you're always getting better at whatever that may be. And especially if you have a passion and a love for it. I'm sure at times it does feel like a job, especially running Desserts by Dana, right? You're running an actual business. You're
Correct.
doing what you're passionate about, but you're at the same time you're running a business and you have to practice. You have to get better at what you're doing all the time.
Yep. Absolutely.
Um, have coming off of these shows, like, have you ever worked for like celebrities?
Oh, sure. We've done a bunch of different celebrities. Who have we done? Ice Cube, Oprah, um, Mike Vick, Bart Scott from the Jets. Being in the Philly area, I get different Eagles players at the time, like Joselio Hansen, Asante Samuels, Jimmy Rollins.
Wow.
We've done Trump, we've done Biden. I'm trying to think who else. Dick Vermeil. So we get all kinds of people. Sometimes we don't even know the star athlete that we're doing it for. Sometimes we get certain planners that say, hey, we need a cake over the top for a birthday. It's one of the Miami Heat's sons. We just can't say who it is, but he has a house in so and so. And so obviously, when you go into the house and you see some pictures, you're like, oh, snap. So things like that do pop up and do happen.
When you work with this type of clientele, or I guess just anybody in general, and let's say they don't live within driving distance from you, do you deliver it like across country? How do you get the cakes or whatever the dessert may be to these people?
I fly. Like if I have to do something for a client like that, or say even a wedding, they might fly me to the Keys and be like, okay, here's your room with the oven. You got the fridge in here. Make it happen. So they might get me a suite and just say, make it happen. I can imagine when the housekeeper walks in or something and she sees all the shelves out of the refrigerator, like, what is going on? But, I'm creating magic in there.
I bet. I would imagine there's got to be stress involved as well. Let's say you take the example of you mentioned a couple presidents, or you mentioned Oprah, or I mean, these are huge name people. There's got to be stress around it, making sure that it's to the level that you want it to be at a certain level, so that you're proud of the work and you want the client to be happy. Have you ever had any moments where like there was like a lot of things that went wrong or mistakes or like a like a funny story?
Oh gosh, I mean, people ask me, how did you get so good at baking and pastry and all this stuff? You make a lot of mistakes. I mean, that's just the honest truth. We go to school, we learn a lot, but the reality is, like you said, you have to practice, practice, practice. And sometimes in practice, you miss catching that ball and get hit right in the eye. So things happen. I remember one time, and this is one of my really good delivery drivers. Like, he was good to the point where I could send him out. He'd take a little bag of buttercream in case something happened,
Mm.
and if something needed to happen, he would fix that little spot on the cake. Like, I mean, he was great. So I get a call one night, and I forget what award I was winning because I was on the way to an award thing. And he says, "Hey, can you come back by the bakery? I think I need help fixing this cake." And I'm like, "Well, can't you fix it?" Like, I can't imagine something that bad going wrong. And he's like, "No, I think I need you to help me fix it." So I walk into the shop, and I don't know why, but on the right hand side, I just see like this mess. Like, it's cake mess. It's like cake and icing and this and that. And I'm like, "What the heck is that?" And he was like, "That's the cake." I was like, "No way, bro. No way, bro. Not the one that we spent 10 hours on."
Oh no.
Yes. And as I examined it closer, I could see the zebra print designs and the polka dots. And I was like,
Oh
Jesus,
no.
okay. So luckily, everybody was still there. And each of us took an individual tier and recreated it quickly to get it back up. Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, like, it was a 5 tier cake. It was a big one. And I was just like, unbelievable. However, the lesson learned was I need to create a system of how we build the cakes, the structure, and to make sure those cakes can't move when it's on the board and so forth. So now we build the cakes totally different, and we don't have those type of problems anymore.
That's good. That definitely a valuable lesson learned for sure.
Yes, my vendors say though, they're like, "You're the only one that builds their cakes like this and uses that type of stainless steel center pole that's screwed into the wood board." I'm like, "Yeah, because it only takes one accident,
That's right.
$1,000 mistake, and you're like, I won't do that again."
Because some of these cakes, I would imagine they're not cheap. People are
Oh my,
probably spending a lot of money. I mean, you mentioned a 5-layer cake in 10 hours. Yeah, you're gonna charge a lot of money for something like that.
correct, correct.
To have those systems and processes in place, and you've probably been doing it for long enough. You've
Hmm.
been around, being on these shows, and I'm sure just being in the industry, being surrounded by others who are also professionals at baking. Learning from them. There's so many like little probably tips and tricks that you picked up along the way that have made you not just a better baker, but also your company a better company as well.
Correct, absolutely. Yep.
It, Tell me about. I see you're on television. Is it called the DETV network?
DETV. Yes. So, I did, what was it? 3 seasons of the Chef Dana show
Yeah.
on DETV. It airs locally here in the Delaware, Philadelphia area. Um, I think I was just blessed during COVID. That's all I could say. I had a really great company come called Bath Kitchen and Tile (BKT). They sponsored the whole kitchen. Um, it was gorgeous. They really backed us up. Appliances were donated by General Electric. So I don't know. It was like a perfect storm just came together.
Did you do this during COVID?
Did that during COVID. Yes.
W- Not a there couldn't have been a better time. The in-home baking craze was like hit at all-time high, I feel like during COVID. I'm a food broker and I represent different food manufacturers. And one of the ones that I represent is a yeast company, right? Which I'm sure maybe you use yeast or at least know of yeast. People, I remember we would get orders for like normally maybe like a pallet or two from us from a food service customer in a month. That's pre-COVID.
Hmm.
During COVID, we were getting like that same customer 2 truckloads. And we're like, we can't sell you 2 truckloads of yeast. You've been buying 2 pallets a month, because everybody came in home bake. It was crazy.
Everybody, I mean, yeast. My wife is a food purchaser.
Okay.
Works for Gordon Food Services,
Yeah.
and
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
she would give me the heads up, like, "Hey, bro, you better go get this because it's about to be out." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "The pizza companies are sucking it up like water, man. You better go get flour. You better go get, if you need yeast, just put some on your shelf because it's going to be gone." And to your credit, like you said, here's people asking for truckloads of yeast versus a pallet or two, which was their normal consumption. It was insane.
Yeah. I know. It's
Mhm.
just a different time, but good for you for doing that. What
Yep.
about when you look at your career, of all the success that you've had? What is something that you still want to do that you've not yet achieved?
Oh goodness. I mean, we're always growing. I think I've been blessed to work with Airmark,
Yep.
and so we support some of the colleges in the area. I would love to get into the stadium. Love to get into Citizens Bank Park with the Phillies, Lincoln Financial with the Eagles and so forth, or Wells Fargo with the Sixers, and Flyers. I would love to get into the sports side of the business.
I love that. I actually went to a Sixers game last March. I flew in for like a business conference, and the
Okay.
conference was Tuesday, Wednesday, and I flew in on Monday. I think I landed at like 3 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna do all the Philly things to do in like 5 hours. So I mean, I went to the Rocky Balboa statue. I had oh gosh, of course, a Philly sub. I
uh,
and then I went to a Sixers game. I think I showed him like the third or fourth quarter. And I like, you had the Phillies, the Eagles, and the Sixers. Those stadiums are all right there next to each other.
yep.
And so I was just there
Yep.
by myself, but I was like, I'm here. I'm living the Philly lifestyle. I had 5 hours.
That's what's up. Let's say experience a little Philly while you can.
That's right. That's right. Well, Chef Dane, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to do this. I really appreciate it, and just
Anytime.
thank you, and thank you for sharing as well. I want to go back and watch some of these shows, so I appreciate it.
Look, anytime, anytime. I'll tell you one last funny thing about
Please, please.
that Cake Boss show. I competed locally in the Philadelphia area and had won some local competitions. My wife pulled out a picture of when I won this one particular competition. And as I looked in the photo at the judges, Buddy was one of the judges. This is before he was ever on Cake Boss or anything like
Wow.
that. So I just say that to say life can be circling around you the whole time and you don't even see some of the possibilities and things and connections that are going to happen in
Hmm.
your career. But when I went and looked at that picture, I was like, wait a minute, babe, come here. Look, right here. Who's that judge? And she was like, no way. And I was like, way back then, long before I ever, got on any show or competed on anything,
Yeah,
he had judged one of the competitions.
amazing. You never know. That's why
Hmm.
it's you never know who's watching. You hear that all the time. Like building the character. What is there's some phrase like characters built when no one's watching, but there's
It
always
is.
somebody watching.
Yep. I remember Ron Ben Israel, another great cake artist, when we lost. We lost Wedding Cake Wars on WeTV, but he came over and he said, you didn't win, but I'm telling you, somebody's going to call you when they see this thing.
Hmm.
Because the cake that won was like this little cake. And I mean, we had been watching Food Network. So, I mean, our cake was like monstrous. It was huge. And he was like, you didn't win, but don't worry. He's like, somebody's going to call you.
That's right.
And then I got home and there was an email in my inbox from TLC, totally different network.
Amazing. How cool is
Yeah,
that?
that was really cool.
How could people reach out to you? What's the best way to connect with you?
There's multiple ways. Instagram is huge for us right now, at Desserts by Dana. Facebook at Desserts by Dana, and of course our website, dessertsbydana.com, are three easy places you can catch us.
Okay. And for those listening, my dad taught me when I was young how to spell desserts. If you want to know how to spell desserts by Dana, because there's dessert and then there's desert, right? He said desserts. There's two S's
Yes,
because you want more of it. So
there you
desserts.
go.
There's two S's in desserts.
Yep, DESSERTS.
Amazing.
What's they
Well,
say? Stress spelled backwards equals desserts.
stress spelled back. Ah,
Uh huh.
you're right.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yep.
How cool is that? Well, thank you again. Thanks, Chef Dana. This has been great.
Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
You too.